We didn't plan this, people who are watching on video, but Andy and I are in gray shirts. You know, my shirt's a little tighter than his, but
Are you making fun of my shirt? This is my.
are you you got that like Ultimate Warrior type of feel, like the biceps are bulging out,
I'm not, Dave. I've been on the road so much. My workouts are off. My eating is off. Dave. I've been on the road for a lot of these recent podcasts. I'm in the beautiful state of Georgia today. Dave, in Fayetteville, Georgia, which is like ridiculous. This hotel, this complex is ridiculous here in the middle of Georgia, outside of Atlanta. But in any case, I look forward to getting back and stable back in my workouts because my Ultimate Warrior pretending imagination is not what it used to be.
what's ridiculous about the
It's so
hotel?
nice. I mean, it's
Oh, it's
it's
nice.
it's so nice. Yeah, it's so it's like I mean, I've only seen in the dark so far. I arrived last night, but it's the hotel I'm in right now is lovely. It's very nice. So apparently they do a lot of new Georgia filming out here in this area. So
Oh,
people come in for to perform. If you've got actors here, obviously it's got to be nice. And so yeah, just
well, you never know. I mean, like that's where they do all the Marvel stuff. I think they have the big studios in Atlanta, and so maybe that's it, Andy.
that's
So
it. Yeah, I think maybe I think it's where we are. So I'm in
okay,
the
well,
room maybe of some C-level actor. Maybe was in this room before. Maybe some Marvel
maybe,
stand-in.
or maybe you got like who knows, Robert Downey Jr. maybe showing up or something, like coming back for reshoots of Doom or Doomsday or something. I don't
Maybe
know.
I'll let you know if I run into him.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I want a picture. I want to definitely picture. Okay, Andy. Um, yeah, let's talk politics today. Maybe the gray is like the gloom or whatever we feel, but I don't know. There's a couple different ways to take this. It's fascinating that the coverage is all about these primaries now. Before, the primaries, nobody really cared too much about it except within your state. But every week, it seems like we've got new primaries coming up. And we have a lot of votes going in, and we have Trump back candidates. We talked about Cassidy this last on Monday. He lost this weekend to another backed person.
Yeah.
And then last night, Tuesday, um, we had Thomas Massey, the critic of Trump, on a number of different levels against the big, beautiful bill, and then most notably sponsored or co-sponsored with Ro Khanna, the Epstein release of the Epstein files.
Right.
He lost his primary to a Trump-backed individual. Now, Andy, I didn't pay much attention to this, but I heard like former Navy SEAL, all this other
That's
stuff,
right.
and I'm thinking like this dude must be like cut out the image of what a Navy SEAL looks like, and that's going to be this guy. And then you see a picture of this guy, and he looks like he's fucking death or something. Like
Yeah.
he's like 70 years old or something, and But it's interesting to see. MAGA went hard on the primary to unseat somebody like Thomas Massey. And I think it gives this false sense of security that they've just won the election, but they still have to go against the Democrats in the in the fall, Andy. And
That's
so
right.
there are not like you're going to the extreme Republicans. You're betting that Trump is going to carry you in the midterms. And I don't know that the president's numbers are in the shitter, and he continues to come out and says he doesn't care about the pain Americans are feeling.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Andy. What's your thoughts on this Massey, maybe even this MAGA baked swing here?
Yeah. Well, one, Matt, you mentioned the new Republican nominee, Galore, and he's 69, Dave, 68 or
Yeah,
69,
I
not
said
quite
70. I was close, Andy. I was
70.
close.
He looks older than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I think you make a really good point. I mean, the Republican Party. Yes, Donald Trump is doing a good job at vanquishing his foes, though, as Massey said in his comments yesterday, he's going to be in office for another 7 months.
Yeah.
So he's going to have a long time and now absolutely nothing to hold him back. Look, Thomas Massey twice voted not to impeach Donald Trump. right? This isn't somebody who's just been completely against Trump all the time on every issue. But now he has no reason to do anything but push even more aggressively on everything to frustrate this president. And I think he will, because he is, at the end of the day, a libertarian leaning, small government supporting, pro choice uh, elected official. And I think he's going to try and frustrate this president further for the next for the rest of the year. As far as your
But
point, you're right. The Republicans are going all in on Donald Trump. And polls are saying Americans are just not there. And it's hard to imagine a scenario where the polls dramatically change in the president's favor. And so you're right. In some of these safe states, the president is going to pick up, loyalists, and that's what he wants. And so where it's a safe Republican seat, as Kentucky probably is, he's probably going to pick up somebody who's loyal to him versus want to stand up for the people that they represent. But in a lot of these states, and in some of these traditionally safe red states, as poll numbers continue to crater, as Americans look at the disgusting, unethical things being done by this administration, from the president, from the White House, to folks like our leadership at the Department of Justice, they're repulsed. And so there is still going to be a big fat blue wave come November, which is going to get other voices that are not Trump loyalists into office. So yeah, I think you make a really good point. It's only half the battle.
yeah, yeah, it's half the battle. They're spending a lot of money in these primaries. This was the money spent in this district
Yeah,
was the most in history. Now, granted, obviously money is different than it was before, but like it just goes, this is for just the Republican primary, Andy.
yeah,
I mean, think about, we talked about the Indiana state primaries a couple weeks ago. A lot of money being thrown around in that. They're spending a ton of money. And let me ask you, people of Kentucky in the fourth district, like, are you really like that blind? Like, you would rather have somebody who supports an individual who's let's not even get into the convicted felon piece, Andy, but he is the grifter in chief. He
yeah,
has continued to profit from his things. We'll talk about the suing of the IRS and the settlement there in a minute, but who continues to do things for his own self-interest and not for you. He shows no regard for you. This is supposed to be a farming agricultural area. He's sold out the farmers to his buddies in other countries. He has no deals for you in any way, shape, or form. How are you saying, yeah, I got it. Let's do that? Because the person you voted for, Trump, he wanted to release the Epstein files. He said he was going to lower prices on day one. What has he done for you?
yeah.
In all seriousness, I want MAGA, whoever's listening out there, to tell me, what has Trump done for you? Don't, we've talked about, like, maybe there's some border accomplishments he can talk to, but people, the hard reality is, look, under the last 6 months of Biden, the border numbers were going down already. So yeah, he helped. He put some things in place. But is that what you're selling on? Never mind, the price at the pump is worse. All your prices of groceries are worse. Everything you're doing is worse. And you're going to back this? Uh, hey, look, you get what you get, people. At some point, you get what you get, and that's what you got. So,
Yeah, the only problem is the rest of us get it too, Dave. The rest of us get it
uh,
too. But
uh,
look, you talk about some of these issues and the frustrations and where things are and where they're going. There was a lot of money spent in this race, but it wasn't all Trump money. And while Trump does have a lot of money to spend, this wasn't all Trump money. There is a strong push to get Massey out that's been going on for a long time by some lobbying groups that are very close to Benjamin Netanyahu, and they have not liked Massey and his position on Israel for a long time. And why that's notable is because, again, as this president really closely aligns himself with Benjamin Netanyahu, a pretty wild story coming out yesterday about how the Trump administration and the Netanyahu administration were planning to replace the leadership in Iran, too, with a former president, which was pretty unreal to read. But those two together aligned don't bode well into this election either, a time when Netanyahu is unbelievably unpopular in this country. And so that relationship too, while it helped in the primary in getting resources to push Massey out of office, isn't going to help and sound good to Americans in the general election, a time when both Trump and an almost equally corrupt Netanyahu are just so unpopular in this country.
Yeah, and then Yahoo's even unpopular in his own country. Look at the
Yeah,
protests and demonstrations that have occurred before the war with Hamas, and then as it continues to go through
yeah,
today.
that's right.
And let's switch a little bit. So we got the election results. I'll figure those things out. But I know Trump was obviously probably gleefully. I didn't check. I don't have True Social, Andy, so I can't check and see how gleefully he shared that news last night.
Yeah,
But let's talk about the other thing that's been the talk, bubbling up, and it's this settlement with the IRS. So in 2019,
yeah,
2020, the, Trump's tax returns were leaked to the press. Okay, so that was 2019, 2020. Now, the president and presidential candidates almost always share their tax returns.
yeah,
And President Trump, when as a candidate, said he would release them at a point in time, but they were under a lot of audit, so he didn't want to jeopardize all of that stuff. So
yeah,
came up with some bullshit. Trump is always under an audit.
that's right.
But anyways, they got leaked. So we don't hear anything about it until he comes back into office, and he's going to sue the IRS now for $10 billion. This is classic Trump. He's, by the way, he's sued the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion for the birthday card. He's sued the New York Times for $10 billion, CBS. That's his magic number, just like 2 weeks. We'll
Yeah,
we'll have this
that's right.
resolved in
That's
two
right.
weeks, right? Um, so he threatens to sue. Well, again, if he wins that suit, which most people argue he would not have won, he would if that would have gone to court, he would not have won that case. But he settles with his own Justice Department,
Yeah,
and he reaches this agreement for a $1.7 endowment that can be paid for people who were unfairly punished because of their association with Trump. And then yesterday comes out word that also is a guarantee that Trump will not be audited, or his family or his business dealings will not be audited for past dealings.
cannot ever be. Cannot ever
Cannot
be.
ever be,
Yeah,
cannot ever be audited.
yeah,
Andy, this is a fucking sham, people.
yeah,
Wake the fuck up. The president is telling you he's like, what the, like, we're going to pay now, conceivably,
yeah.
a insurrectionist who had stormed the Capitol, and people watch the fucking videos, and they stormed the Capitol. They were unfairly prosecuted, or persecuted, as if he wants to call
Both,
it
both,
that.
both actually.
Both. And their lives were ruined, Andy,
Yeah,
because of they were targeted for peacefully demonstrating. And we're going to pay these people. I am going to pay these people.
yeah,
What the fuck, Andy?
yeah. The president negotiating. I mean, the plaintiff and the defendant are the same people now. It's unethical in so many ways, and it's again devastating that we have a loyalist to the president as the lead, the Department of Justice, who's not standing up for the American people, the interests of the American people, but here to support the administration, support this man, right? Because that's not his role in the DOJ. It's not to stand up for the United States of America, but it's all the same people. We're just moving money around at the president's discretion, support his interest to pay off his loyalists. I was trying to find who it was. There's already a claim that's being filed, the first one, $2.7 million, $2.7 million for damages. It's unbelievable that this thing exists. It's being pushed back on. There is pushback from Democrats. There's going to be other groups that also organize and push back because it's clearly unethical. And the line about the never can be audited came in after DOJ was testifying on the Hill. It came late after the publication. It was just so shadily done. And from what I've seen, I'm not a lawyer, but it looks like there is some specific language that talks about the fact that that's illegal in and of itself. So it's just continued efforts to protect this president. Look, the Epstein files, the audits, all the unethical dealings, all being hidden and covered and put away while we blast anybody that dares stand up to this president. Either we remove the Republican majority in the House in November, or we are going to be subjugated to this man's wild authoritarian rule for 2 more years, and God knows what he'll do in 2 more years. He does not intend to leave office, Dave, and he is stealing every dime and dollar from the American people that he can while protecting himself and his own corrupt, unethical regime and friends and allies. And it's dangerous because he's giving money, he's building his loyalty, he's funding his loyalists, and he's preparing, Dave, for a very ugly time ahead around these elections. It's not good. This is bad at so many levels. Hopefully, the courts say bullshit and push back on some of this. But it's hard. It's hard. The Supreme Court has been less than ideal on a lot of these issues so far.
Yeah, and so let's go back to Kentucky and Louisiana, where you supported Trump-backed people versus people who have pushed back against the president. What side do you want to fall on here? You want to fall on the what you're saying is you're endorsing somebody who, when they go into office, when you see the president doing something wrong, you're going to go alongside with that. That person is going to say, "Yep, I support the president. I vote for the president. I do what he wants to do. I'm here to give him top cover." That's what you're saying, people. So you're complicit in this as well, because when you cannot you've used your voice and you voted with this. So like, look, I mean, for fuck's sake, people, if this doesn't stir you up, and if this doesn't cause, if you're on Fox News and you're saying how great of a an arrangement this is, like, and if you're I don't even fucking know, Andy. Like this is just so unbelievable, um, that the more it comes out, the more crazy it seems.
It is, Dave. I mean, even again, the devices used the $1.776 billion
Yeah.
fund, right? They're trying to wrap up our crime and corruption in the red, white, and blue, in patriotism. It's just disgusting. It's just disgusting. And all of those are going to go along, right? I mean, I really do try to understand, like what is motivating you to go along and be complicit in the destruction of the rule of law, the destruction of what our founders created. It's not all because they're not all Russian loyalists, right? So I don't know what motivates a lot of this. Is it racism? Is it frustration with what you see? I don't understand it. I've tried to understand it, but it's really sad to see where we are and the way that we're using loyalty to this country, mixing up what our founders tried to establish and wrapping up this corruption, in the American flag and patriotism. It's just really heartbreaking to see where America is right now at this point in mid 2026.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you're right. I mean, they sneak, like, I'm fucking reclaiming the flag back from these fuckheads, right? Like, I tell you what, we need to start standing up. If you want to make America great again, if you want to go back to what the founders did, the founders wouldn't have tolerated this sort of shitty behavior, Andy. And like, I think we all need to say this is enough. And get if this doesn't inspire you to get out to vote. And look, I get it. You know, not all the Democratic candidates are going to be great. There's an extreme party side of that party as well. But when my options are, fighting against Donald Trump and these fucking cronies, or backing the person who continue just because they're Republican, they get my vote. I'm sorry, you need to be switching that vote, and you need to come out in the midterms and really bring about this change, because that's the only thing that we have left, people. Like we have to use our vote. So,
Yeah,
anywho.
yeah. And we will, Dave. The elections are coming. The American people will vote, and then we have to stand up and defend our vote. And that's going to be the hard part.
The sad part is, Andy, we got 6 months still in this shitty, like fucking, like we got to wait 6 more months. I mean, this is just like, fuck me. But you're right. There's still a lot more scheming and maneuvering that can be done.
Yeah,
Okay, Andy, this is a full politics session. I'm sorry, everyone, if you wanted something else. But look, a couple weeks ago, Andy, we started like, what would we change about our things, about politics? What would we change about where, if we were standing at the campaign as the on the stump, what would our things be? And
yeah.
both of us talked about different things on the first part. we brought up our initial salvo, and mine was like a political overhaul, and that's nothing more we're seeing today. And like we need to get fucking money out of politics
Yeah.
and get some of these things changing. But it is what it is. But that's what I mean when I talk about political reform and political overhaul. That means like campaign finance reform and all these other things. So, anyways, I just wanted to clarify some of that. But Andy, let's go to like what would we want to do next? We both had our first
Yeah.
salvo. What would be your second area that you'd want to focus on as a candidate talking to the American people?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this is necessarily sexy as a candidate talking to the American people, but I think it's what we need if I was to if I was king for a day, what I would do. And the first one I opened up with the idea on healthcare. The next three are really all focused on what you just talked about, sort of fixing the system, reforming the system. Because look, I love our Constitution, but it was found in a different time, and some of the timelines, some of the processes in there just don't fit into modern America because of our media cycle, our news cycle, transportation, a lot of things. I just think we need to tweak some things to help protect the republic. And so the next three that I'll discuss will all be there. But for today, one that we've talked about many times in this podcast, Dave, I don't think is anything radical. And I say that we need term limits for everybody. Everybody needs term limits. The president needs one term, Dave, one term, lame duck
Fun.
from day one term and done. Congress needs term limits. We should be extending them, right? The 2-year election cycle is not good for representation. It's not good for this country. It worked in a slower time. It doesn't work in the 2020s, and it has been this way for a long time. So Congress, I think, needs term limits and longer terms. Both the House and the Senate should see terms that are longer and with limitations on them, 2, 3 cycles at most. And I would say 3 for the House and 2 for the Senate. And Dave, our Supreme Court needs a cap, right? Back when people were dying in their mid 40s, you could serve for life, and you served for 10, 12, maybe 20 years, right? But as Thomas Jefferson spoke about, one generation should not be able to tie down and bind a future generation. And justices sitting on the Supreme Court for 20, 30, 35 years is ridiculous. It's absurd. It's not respecting upcoming generations and them getting representation on the court and having voices for the future of this country. We need to rotate these folks out of office one term, I'd argue a 20-year term, and be gone, and move on. And so term limits, Dave, for everybody. Extended terms, the president should serve longer, the House should serve longer, the Senate should serve longer, justice can serve even longer than that. But do your term and go away. I think that's one way to help bring balance back into this republic.
I love this idea. I think we could argue over like the lengths and all that other stuff, but term limits has to be in place. We have it for the president, 2 4-year terms. The current president's going to challenge that, but
Yeah,
whatever. The House, I absolutely agree. As soon as they get elected, they're already campaigning again,
right,
and
right.
they're already it just cannot be that way. I would be in favor of like a 4-year term. The Senate, I'm okay with 6, but I can see going maybe a little bit longer if you wanted to, or maybe all of them are 4-year terms. And then I think there's either it's two things. 20 years, you got to do 20 years
Yeah,
for Congress, or there's a mandatory retirement age. Andy, the federal employees, however many there are left, they do have a retirement age. Like so, like that should apply for all employee for Congress as well. So I'm 100% in agreement with this.
yeah.
We definitely need to do that. I mean, I'd love to see, on top of that, we need to like reform with gerrymandering, whatever we want to call it. But that's another piece I want to get into. But yeah, no, I love that idea, Amy. Love it. So
I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. Got more coming for you next week.
okay, good. All right. So where I'm going to go is where you went on your first one is like I think healthcare, but I'm going to do healthcare and education. We have to overhaul both of these systems, and we have to get again the money out of both of these areas.
Yeah,
And for everyone's like, well, there's no money in education day. Well, no, no, no. I'm talking about a holistic reform, like our private schools versus public schools, where a lot of these states are doing vouchers, we're doing charter schools, we're doing all these things. We need to fund our public schools and get them to bare minimum standards. We need to declare war on education, Andy. Our education rates are terrible in this country. And there's no reason why, but well, there's a lot of reasons why, but we should not be that way. If we cared about education like we care about our sports, Andy,
Yeah,
we'd be investing heavily in this. We'd be developing our youth. It means so much to us, and it should not just be those who can afford to go to a private school at 4 years old or whatever. Everybody should have basic needs, and that means preschool. We cover preschool. We cover all that education. We have to expand opportunities for vocational training, get back to where people really, if you want to make America great, the jobs of the future are going to continue to be those jobs where we need vocational training. And instead, we send them off to 4-year colleges so they can cheer on their favorite football team or something like that. That's another thing we need to change, but that's education. Healthcare, Andy, there's no reason we should not be with all the other countries in the world. Our infant mortality rate, Andy, is shocking. It's
yeah,
disgusting
yeah,
about this. Women, the rate, healthcare for women. We've talked about that with abortion, the choices that they have. Basic needs, Andy. I went and got my physical last week, and everybody should have basic access to
yeah,
getting a healthcare screening, eyes, dental, and healthcare every year. That should be our commitment to the American people. And there's no reason we can't do that, Andy. We just spend billions of dollars on a needless war. If we would have invested that in healthcare, we'd solve all this problem, Andy. And it's not because we can't, we choose not to.
yeah,
And I think that's the big difference. And I think that's where we need to make changes. Look, you can have insurance companies still work with a free healthcare system. If you want more, get insurance. If you want more, get extra coverage. But the basics should be a fundamental right of our of being an American citizen, Andy. And that's where I would go. Education and healthcare need to be our focus. We need to declare war on those areas and attack those with the same rigor we would attack anything else, Andy. So,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I shared thoughts on healthcare last week, Dave. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, like like everybody should just have coverage one way or the other. Like it's ridiculous that we don't. When we can put aside 1.776 billion for the president's slush fund. Like, why can we not get basic coverage for every American in this country? So I 100% agree with you. It's tough. Education is an interesting one. I think for a long time, I really was very intrigued by the ideas of school choice, and I've really come away from that as I've seen it evolve. Not that people shouldn't have the right to go to private schools if they want to, but my enthusiasm for it has really decreased over time as I've seen it really bring out some of the worst in the way that we're treating education and how we're raising the next generation. So I've really come away from that. But I will say, I also want to see a lot more, from our teachers nationwide in the sense that I think we still haven't fully recovered from COVID. I love teachers. I think it's an incredible profession and they're doing a great service to our country. But I look around and I get concerned when I see so many citizens today that lack appreciation for our history. When I see so many people today that can't do basic reading and writing, and I say, okay, we have to look at what we're doing in the classroom and make sure we're really preparing people to protect the future of this country. And I don't think we've fully embraced some of the changes we need to make. So I agree. We do need to invest better and do better in public schools, support teachers, support where they're going, support better classrooms. But then we need to really examine what are we doing? And are we still focusing on the things that help protect and preserve this country? Because we've raised a generation that is in a very bad place. And that's parents, that's our nation, that's our communities, our neighborhoods, but it's also the classroom. Like, we've really got to look at what we're doing and what we're focusing on. And so I agree, we do need heavy reforms. We do need to invest in these areas. I think we need to also challenge tradition a little bit and think about, like, are we doing it the way we really need to for the best future for this country? And I hope we can get there.
well, we have to set classroom expectations because the teachers, I'll tell you, they're handcuffed in these classrooms. And I'm
Yeah,
married to a teacher. Like, obviously, I see a lot of this firsthand. But there's a lot of challenges where they want to do more, they want to do these things, but they have these unwieldy requirements that they
yeah,
have to do these like we've got these end of year testing that has to go on, and it's like layers upon layers. We're
Yeah,
throwing prep rally parties for everyone to do their best, because if they do their best, then their school would get more money from the state or something
yeah,
like that. And it's just those type of things that are just unnecessary,
yeah,
because we're not addressing what you I agree with, Andy. If we're going to get better on education, we've got to get better at, getting the right skills to our kids.
yeah,
And right now we're not doing that. And I agree. I At one point I was in favor of school choice, but like when you see how it gets exploited
yeah,
by certain groups, it's not what it's cracked up to be, and school choice isn't really school choice after all. So,
yeah.
um, anywho, Annie, good rundown today. It's a kind of a gray day, but it is a day. It's the American democracy at work,
That's
and
right.
that's how we have to go through it, and we have to call out, and we have that power of voice. So use your power of the vote. So. With that, Andy, let's wrap up Wednesday, and enjoy Georgia. Hope you see an actor friend of down there, and
I'll let you know.
we'll go from there. All right, until then, we'll catch up with you on Friday.